Hello, welcome back. Thought I'd do a video on Lauren Dalton because, like I said, a lot of eyes through the Candace Owens thing came to Lauren, and by Lauren they came to me. And I'm not going to do this whole back and forth of plugging each other's channel and things like that. Anything Lauren has done that directed people to me, I appreciate it, but I didn't ask her to do that. Not getting into all that. I'm just saying, this video could have easily been called parenting, but I think I already did a video on parenting. Well, I didn't get across everything in that video that I wanted to, and that's like most of them that I do. I always leave a couple things out that I wanted to touch on, and after the fact, and it's just like, you get the general idea. Well, when it comes to Lauren, she has brought me joy in my life from the day she was born, possibly before that. And it's safe to say I've known her longer than any human alive, except for God, and he's not a human. You have to invest in your kids. We're going to get back to that. Both of my children, when they were born, I used to read to them while they were in the womb. I mean, put my face right up to the belly, the pregnant belly, and read to them. I didn't do it all the time or anything like that, but from time to time, whatever book I was reading, I read a lot of books. And I would just use this low voice to get them used to my voice. Kids are a lot smarter than you think. Toddlers are a lot smarter than you think. Babies are a lot smarter than you think, and even when they're in the womb, they'll know that voice. They might not know what you're saying, but they'll know that voice, and I proved that. Right up next to it, I might be reading Louis L'Amour or something, but I use this voice like really low and just reading whatever was in the book. Later on, when she was an infant, and I mean Lauren had the pipes on her. She would yell if she was wet. She would yell if she was hungry, middle of the night, and she was hungry a lot. And it didn't matter. And I mean, it'd wake up the whole house. I mean, it'd jar you out of a sleep. And from time to time, she's wet. That's different. If she's hungry, that's a little bit different too. But she was just fussing to be fussing. I'd use that voice, just louder. Lauren, let's calm down now. It's all right. It's time to go to bed. And that same voice that I would read to him, that's investing in your kid. And she always would settle right down, unless something was, wrong. She was wet or hungry or something like that. You've got to invest in your kids. The day Lauren was born, she smiled at me. And I told my mom about it over the phone. I called my mom to tell her that she was born and that everything was okay and everything. And told my mom about it. My mom was like, she didn't smile at you. Babies don't smile when they're hours old. Like I'm telling you that she did. Well, then my mom came to the hospital and was holding her. And Lauren smiled at her grandmother. And here's my mom. And he goes, she smiled at me. And I said, no, it's probably just gas, like you told me. She has been smiling her whole life. Still does. Now, everything wasn't lightning, rainbows, and springtime. Went through the mischievous. When she would play, she'd play hard. And she'd hit you on the knuckles with Barbie, or the hard little toy animals. She had a big thing for them, so I bought as many as I could get my hands on. She'd always crack you on the knuckles. And I'd tell her, it's like, if you do that again, we're not going to play anymore. And I held to my word. And if it happened again, I'd get it, and we're done. That's it. I'm out. Because it hurt. And she didn't like to listen. Very independent-minded, very strong-willed. And in my household, you got warned once. Then there were consequences. Because I had neither the time nor the inclination to sit and argue with a child. The inmates cannot run the asylum. And that's another part of investing in your child. Consistency with discipline and with fun. I mean, you got to play. You got to get down on the floor and roughhouse. And, there's a time for playing and there's a time for listening to mom and dad. Lauren also had a thing where she liked to disappear in the store. She thought that was really cute. And in the retail stores, they have those circular clothes racks where they can hang things from hangers, display a lot of clothes at the same time. Well, at just the right height, she would slip off and disappear and stand in the middle of those circular clothes hangers, and she just stayed there. And I mean, the fear of God would strike you, you know, it's like, where is she? And you're racing up and down aisles. I kept a close eye on my kids all the time, constantly. Where are they at? What are they doing? Because there's bad people with bad intentions in the world. Well, I'd heard that this was happening. I didn't like to go to the store. Still don't like to go to the store. So my then wife would take the kids to the store, and she told me about it. And, Lauren, this ain't going to cut it. I think it was probably the next time we went to the store, she pulled this number. And I just happened to see her little feet standing in the center of one of those clothes rack things, you know. And my wife, I was like, I see her. And she said, I'll go get her. And I was like, no, this is going to stop right now. So we went and hid out. I could see her the whole time. Hid back by the changing rooms and just waited. We're not going to play this game. And for a long time, Lauren stood in there. And then she came out and looked around, and Mom and Dad were nowhere to be found. And then she starts getting worried. And then she starts crying a little bit. And I give it enough time to sink in, and then I go and get her. And I say, you understand that this ain't cool, man. And that was the end of it. Because I didn't have the time nor the inclination to argue with children. Even my own, let alone somebody else's. People say there's no guidebook on raising children. I would disagree with that. There's thousands of books on how to raise a child. I've read parts of some of them, obviously not all of them, never a complete one, minus one. One of these books is called How to Train Up a Child by Mark and Debbie Pearl. The other one is the Holy Bible. I spanked my kids and beat them. I spanked them. And if you do this right, I don't care what anybody says or any authority or anything else, because the good book tells us you spare the rod, you spoil the child. The good book tells us train up a child in the way that they should go, and they will not depart from it. As they get older, there's a couple good books on how to raise up a child. Consistency. Get your emotions out of it. Man, the times that I've seen people in the stores or at a dinner, in a restaurant, Jimmy, I'm not going to tell you again. Now, I'm going to count to 3. Okay, there's 2 warnings right there. I thought you weren't going to tell him again. 1. That's 3. 2. 2.5. All you're doing is training the kid to wait till, is it 2 3/4? 2 7/8, maybe. 2 15/16. How long are you going to play this game? And you're training the kid to push you right to the brink. You're blowing up. That's it. That's 3. Now you've lost your cool in dealing with your own child. You lost your cool, all right, because it ain't cool. It ain't cool to have your kid be able to manipulate you. So we went through all that stuff. Now, there was a ton of fun in all of that stuff. Lauren's an attractive young lady. I ain't being like a weirdo dad thing, but she is. People say it all the time. Well, credit where credit is due. First of all, God made that happen. But secondly, her mother, when she was married to me, was a very attractive woman. My, how times have changed. Not going to get into that. So she comes by that through genetics. Nobody can help or hinder that. It's just the way that it is. But it's true. We went through this, all these years of growing from the time Lauren was 7 on. I raised my kids by myself. She does have an older brother. He is disabled. He will not appear on my channel. It's my job to protect him. And that's what's going to happen. So you won't see him. But both of my kids, I invested the time, and I knew when I made the decision to fight for them, post-separation, that there wasn't hell or high water or any kind of court system that was going to stop me from doing what was best for my children. And two things came to mind. Number one, if I have to sell every tot and tittle that I own to do what's best for my kids, then that's what I'll do. And if I fail the first time, we're coming back again. And if I fail the second time, we're coming back again. And I'll sell every frickin' thing I own, even plasma, to do what's best for my kids. Period. I think their mother kind of knew that, knew who she was dealing with. And all I remember of that was, oh, you think it's so easy? I didn't say it was going to be easy. I said I would do it. And I'm talking pretty well on my own. My parents were dead. So there wasn't any dropping off at Grandma and Grandpa's and letting them raise the kids while you go run around on the weekends. Her parents, that's dysfunction junction. Grandma on that side was bipolar, and Grandpa was so self-involved he couldn't be bothered to stay in contact with him. Whole other story. Again, don't want to get too far into that. But aside from a couple really good friends and a few family members that did help out from time to time, I didn't abuse that. I pushed that off as, it had to be desperate times for me to call and ask for help. And my best friend and his wife, shout out to Sherry, did milestones, especially early on. They still do, staying with my son from time to time to help me out, but pretty well it was tough sledding on my own. And I ain't looking for props or sympathy or any of that stuff, but I made that choice. You got to invest in your kids, and you cannot be lazy and raise kids properly. The trouble with that is people don't invest in their children anymore, and I cannot for the life of me understand why. It is your job as a parent initially to nurture and protect your children, and hopefully keep anything bad from happening to them. You don't want them sticking a fork in a toaster, and you don't want them getting swooped up by a stranger with bad intentions. You want them fed. You want them clean, basic necessities of life. You brought a child into this world. You ought to take care of the thing. As they get older, the job doesn't stop. I was never a fan of sticking a screen in front of a kid and just, where's Bobby? He's on his iPad. How was your day at school? Fine. Oh, he said it was fine. That's not investing in your children. And we're seeing it today, left and right, because it's easy. Because there isn't any effort involved in that. It's lazy parenting. And it's pathetic. Then we come to the teenage years, and we don't understand why our kids won't listen to us. And we don't understand when they get a little older even, why I can't get him to do anything. He won't even get his dirty clothes out of his room. And so what happens? You go in there and dig them out for him, don't you? You're training the kid to not do what you say, or not have any respect for any kind of authority figure, or not put any kind of effort into improving themselves or their lives. You're training them to do whatever. Mom will get them. And then what do you think's going to happen when they get out of school, when they get out of the house? You think they're just going to be a gung-ho go-getter? There are the outliers where that happens. It's pretty rare. You're breeding worthless adults. Oh, my kid doesn't want to. Kid doesn't even know how to start a lawnmower. Why didn't you teach him? You had all those years and all those summers you could have taught him how to start a lawnmower, or change the oil in his car, or change a flat tire. Do you know how? If not, why not? All these things, I can't tell you the hours that I spent when Lauren was young, clear up until she left the house. I called them tailgate talks. We'd sit out at the edge of the driveway on the tailgate of my truck and talk about whatever. We might just sit and ridicule stuff that was going on in the neighborhood and laugh about it. We verbally abused her little cat, not terribly, but, and it was mostly me, but I mean, still, it was funny. The cat was funny. And sometimes we talk about serious stuff. Or sometimes she'd say, my teacher said this and this and this. And I'd be like, oh my gosh. Well, they're wrong, and here's why. If I know something, I want you to know. And as she got older, that included the mistakes that I made in my life. If it's going to make your life easier, because nobody ever did it for me, you have to invest in your kids. Or they can come out as useless adults. You get that boomerang thing going back, coming back around. I can't do it. I need a handout. I can't do it. I need a handout. Can't do it. You should help your kids if you're financially able. You should help your kids out with finances. Not just, man, my car broke down and I don't get paid until, that's a bummer. But that first maybe couple of times, you got to get your footing when you're young. If you got the money, help them out. But again, I'm not a believer in just bailing them out every time. There has to be some kind of why aren't you managing your money better? We spend a lot of time, Lauren and I, talking about money, including later where I went wrong with it. Because a kid needs to know that stuff. They're going to be an adult soon. So at some point, they're going to be an adult. You have to invest in your kids. And I spend a lot of time investing in my kids. And I don't regret that time spent at all, not 1 second of it. I would do the whole thing over again in a heartbeat. From ages 7 and 10, Lauren and her older brother were brought up by me. Did I always do it perfectly? No. Are there things and areas where I could have done things better? Of course. We're all human. We all do, hopefully, the best we can. But you can't do it slamming them in front of a screen and chasing into their room to get laundry out. Or after they leave the home and then come back with a baby in their arms, and you're basically raising the kid. You're a grandparent, not a parent. I told Lauren that. You don't come back here with a baby. I've raised my kids. I don't plan on raising anymore. Now, would a grandchild be cool? Absolutely, man. I could spank that thing. I'm kidding. You see where I'm going with this? And if you didn't invest in your kids, and your kids are already grown, and they come back with kids, and maybe not come back, but they have children of their own, invest in the grandchild. Show me something, people. You cannot be lazy and raise kids, nor should you. That's the end of my little sermon today. Hey, thanks for watching, man. I appreciate it. Those that are new subscribers, and there's been quite a few, thank you. I really do. I appreciate that. I appreciate your time. I'll see you next time.